take a look at what's happening with your stroke. So the first thing we're going to do is take a look at your stroke in regular speed, and then we're going to look at it in slow motion so we can kind of take apart what we're seeing with the various parts of the stroke. So we're going to talk through some of the things that you're doing really well, and then we're going to talk through some of the things that could be improvements in your stroke. So the first one we're going to look at here is going to be regular speed. So let's take a look at that and see what that looks like. So here you are swimming down the pool, and we're going to see right away, the first thing I saw was that kind of wide kick, and you can see that too, how it looks like the kick's a little wide. We're going to talk about that in a minute. When I saw this too, I thought, oh, his hands are going in too wide, and then at closer inspection, I realized actually they're going in right in front of your shoulders, which is exactly where you want them. We can see that in the underwater video as well. Here we can see that your arms are going in directly in front of your shoulders, which is what we want. We don't want them to be crossing over one another, so you're doing a great job with that. You can also see in this video that your head position is great. Your eyes are looking down and your head is basically oriented downward. You're not lifting your head really when you breathe. It looks really, really good. I think you've got a great body position. You can actually see too how your hips are relatively high in the water, given some of the other stroke flaws that we're going to talk about, that they're actually pretty good. You can see them riding just under the water surface. So regardless of the kick there that needs some work, you've got a pretty decent body position. So let's take a look now at the slower motion so we can kind of look in detail. So the first thing we see there is that kick that's got some funky aspects to it. But again, in closer inspection, what I saw with the kick was the main reason that the kick is acting the way it is because we have a real lack of rotation of your body during the non-breathing strokes. So we'll see that in the underwater video as well. But that is what's causing your body to want to do this extra wide kick that has some extra components in it. And then that's really because the body feels off balance because it's rotating on some strokes over, and some strokes it's not. And so it's needing to compensate. And so that's why your kick is extra wide. So here's that little part where it looked to me like initially that your hands were going in front of your head, but they're actually not. They're actually going in directly in front of your shoulders, which looks great, and then they're driving directly forward, so there's no crossover there. So that was a pretty cool thing to see once I looked at that a little closer. And again, look at that good head position. We can see the crown of your head pointing towards the other end of the pool at all times. So that looks really excellent. So great job with that. You're also exhaling as you're swimming. I can see that in the underwater video. A lot of people tend to kind of hold their breath, and you're not doing that. So great job with that. So let's take a look at this rotation issue. You can see right there, when you're swimming, that body ought to be rotated 30 degrees at least, and it is when you're breathing. But on the non-breathing strokes, you can see there that it stays very flat. And what that causes is it causes the opposite hip that should be rotating to kick over to the side. It kind of makes you swim down the pool like you're crawling like a crab. So you can see right here on this stroke right here that isn't a breathing stroke, look how flat the body is there. Your hips are very flat. Shoulders rotate a little, but the hips are kind of struggling to stay still, and we don't want that. We want you to go ahead and let those hips rotate just like they're doing on your breathing strokes. And what that's going to do is that's going to cause you to have a much narrower kick. Kind of think of having your toes tagging one another as they go back and forth down the pool. Because right now what's happening, that whole kick thing is just a result of the lack of rotation. So you can fix that pretty easily, I think. The next thing that we can see is that the right hand is sweeping quite wide. When you go to take that stroke, it's sweeping way outside the body line. Watch that, way outside the body line there. And what that's doing, again, that's causing a little bit of instability in the lower part of your body because that arm is trying to catch, it's trying to fix what's going on with the hips by balancing you, by sweeping that wide, and it's also causing some more of that instability. So once you fix the rotation issue, you should be, without too much trouble, able to kind of bring that right arm into line, and instead of sweeping wide there, it ought to be able to track directly under your body just like your left arm does. So that ought to be pretty easy to do. Well, easy, relative, but so far we've seen we want to have a little bit of a narrower kick. We want to have more rotation on the side, especially when not breathing. So right here, we can see that flat hips when you breathe. Right here, nice rotated hips, nice rotated chest. We can see your belly button. On the non-breathing stroke, flat to the bottom. So work on that with Unco drill. That will help you a tremendous amount. And then one bonus that we can see here that we're not going to work on in this video, but that you'll see in your workouts will be a drill called catch-up drill. And catch-up drill helps you to work out your stroke timing so that your arms are connecting with one another a little bit more in the front end of your body. Right now they're kind of rotating like a windmill. One's in the front, one's in the back, and they switch places. And that's a little more complicated than we have time to go over in this video, but we can talk more at length by phone if you want to call or talk. Or we can look at it in the pool. So those are basically the things that we saw here. So let's go over a little slide that shows a summary of these things so that we can see them in black and white. So here's the things that you're doing really well. Right here you have a great train track entry of your hands at shoulder width. Your head position looks great. You're looking down. Your hips are riding relatively high, even given some of the stroke flaws we talked about. A lot of people really struggle with that. So that's a great job there. And lastly, you're doing an excellent job exhaling while you're swimming, which is what's going to keep you not feeling so worn out. So great job with that. I can see a nice big exhale right before you take your breath. So then let's go ahead and look at what's happening with the things that need to improve a little bit. The first thing we said was that rotation needs some work, and you're going to work on that with unco drill, especially when you're not breathing. Think about rotating that shoulder up and that hip up when you're not breathing. Secondly, what that's going to do is lead to a narrower kick. And you can kind of think of flicking your big toes together when you're doing that. The right arm should sweep directly under the body, just like your left arm does. Right now we can see in the video it's sweeping a little too wide. And so focusing on that one arm drill is really going to fix that, especially when you have that correct rotation. And one aspect that we're not going to touch on this video that we can look at later is your stroke timing. The arm-to-arm coordination is a little off. And so we'll get more information on that later, but focus on that catch-up drill. When you start seeing that showing up in your workouts, that's something that you're going to want to do, because that'll help your arm, primarily your leading arm during your breath, not act as a brake to your body when you're swimming. So these are some of the things that you can work on. And if you want to talk about this, feel free to give me a call, text me, Facebook, whatever. We have lots of ways of getting in touch, and we'll discuss. Great job, Bob.